Erik and I are celebrating our 15th wedding anniversary the day after this episode airs. So we thought it would be highly appropriate to share with you what we've learned in those 15 years about how God has designed each of us to function individually and as a couple. So today, Erik is going to be my very first guest, and we're going to be talking about 3 of the most impactful tools we've used in our marriage, and hopefully helping you begin to see that personality differences in your marriage don't have to be the gigantic problem they're often made out to be. Do you want to be an amazing, present mom and have a real identity of your own, but you struggle with mom guilt and complete overwhelm when you even think about trying to do something just for you? If so, you're in the right place. Hey, I'm Laura, a former teacher and university career counselor turned stay-at-home homeschooling mom of 2. Over the years, I've learned a thing or two about how to be the present, engaged mom I've always wanted to be, and rediscover my own personal identity at the same time. So, if you're ready to rebuild your identity, rediscover your confidence, and let go of the mom guilt, then get the kiddos settled and grab an earbud, because this podcast is for you. If you're struggling to understand the people that God has placed in your life, I want to invite you to join me on a clarity call. A clarity call is just a simple 1-hour, one-on-one video call with me where we sift through your mosaic mom life and start bringing clarity to the places where things are fuzzy right now, where you feel like something doesn't quite fit, or you can't see the whole picture clearly, and that's causing strife, particularly in your relationships, like we're talking about today. So think of it like sitting down to chat with a good friend and having her hold up a mirror and let you finally see who you are and what you need to do next clearly. That's what these calls are for. So if you're ready to start piecing together your mosaic mom life and get some clarity on who you were designed to be and how you were created to function in this world, head over to scatteredwoman.com/clarity. I can't wait to chat with you soon. I should also point out how appropriate it is that you, Erik, would be my first interview on this podcast. You've been my guinea pig for nearly every personality typing system I've come across in the last 15 years. So I'm always running to Erik and saying, come take this profile, come take this assessment, come take this quiz. And you are always game to try whatever I throw at you. So maybe not as enthusiastically as I am typically, but always supportive, and I greatly appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So let's start with this. We've used personalities from the very beginning of our marriage, like I said. So what do you remember about the first time I talked with you about personalities?
Well, it was an interesting approach because it was something different than I'd experienced before. My family didn't really use any descriptors to describe relationships between people. So seeing a label put on it was just something that I had never experienced before.
You had no language
Right.
for discussing personality differences or personality typing in general.
Right. I had no language. And now that I have the language on it, I can... Well, I'm not as good at evaluating it as you are, but I still can see certain things that I know I am and kind of relate them to how I see things through my lens of kind of being on the outside looking in a way.
You're starting to figure it out.
Yes, I'm starting to figure it out slowly.
15 years later, you are finally starting to see things that way.
Right.
So you didn't really know anything about it at the beginning, but you were game because you're always game.
Right.
For whatever I throw at you. So what do you think about personality typing now? You said you're beginning to see it more and you're beginning to recognize it in yourself more. So are you finding it helpful, useful?
Yeah, we use it all the time now when we're relating to members of our family or people that we go to church with. It's become very useful because it kind of has helped me understand who people are, whether they're extroverted, introverted, or what sort of like maybe working traits that they have. It's just one of those things that I have learned to kind of look to you for guidance on so that I know what kind of person I'm dealing with.
And that helps.
It does.
We talk all the time about how understanding personalities is not about labels.
Right.
It's about relationships.
Right.
So anytime we can use these tools to really beef up our relationships or improve our understanding, we call that a win.
And the Bible talks about relationships are the most important thing that we have in life. And so God designed everybody with a unique personality. So it's always fun to kind of discover those things amongst people.
Truth. Okay, so let's talk through the 3 personality tools that we've used most in our 15 years together and the ones that have made the biggest difference in how we relate to each other. So the first one that I dove in and had you take probably while we were still dating, I don't even know if we were married yet, but I had you take the Wired That Way personality profile. And for those of you that have not listened to episodes 6 through 8 yet, basic intro for Wired That Way is just that there are 4 personality types: the popular sanguine, who's the happy, bubbly people, the perfect melancholy, who are your detail people, the powerful choleric, who's the natural born leader, and the peaceful phlegmatic, who is your natural born peacemaker. So we've got those 4 basic types, and then I have known since 5th grade that I am a perfect melancholy, powerful choleric blend. And then when we had Erik take the profile, you came up as?
Sanguine phlegmatic.
Yep. Mostly peaceful phlegmatic, secondary with popular sanguine. He definitely needs to be around people, which is not necessarily how I am wired. But we learned a lot about each other just figuring that out, that we are, complete opposite sides of the chart. The melancholy choleric blend that I am is very task oriented, very focused on work and things getting done. And the peaceful phlegmatic popular sanguine mix is much more people focused. So we've had to kind of balance that. I remember you coming home from work very early in our marriage. We were still in Texas. And you wanted to go out and do something. And I was like, no, I just want to stay here. And you looked at me and said, Laura, you've got to feed my E. You're like, I need to be extroverted right now. So we were learning things even early on, and we are still learning things. But one of the bigger things that I think I learned, I think we both also learned, to not expect the other person to act like them. Like I've learned, I cannot expect you to be detail oriented and see the details like I do. It's just not going to be helpful.
Right. Absolutely.
So, the story that I did want to tell was one of our earliest arguments. Speaking of you not being detail oriented, was about how to load the dishwasher. I had been on my own for 7 years at that point, and I had a very particular way that I liked to load the dishwasher. I felt like I put them in there in such a way that things got clean, and I didn't have to do all this extra work later to scrub things out. And when we got married, you didn't have a system. You just kind of threw things in wherever they fit and squished them in as much as you could, and so you wouldn't have to run a second load later. But rather than continuing to fight that, we decided to just do a scientific experiment. And so we ran one load where I loaded it the way I liked it and took pictures and scoured everything to make sure that everything got really clean and documented everything. And then we had you load one where it was however you wanted to load it. And it took pictures, and the pictures cracked me up because mine are very orderly and everything's, very systematically put in there. It's very pretty, and his are just all kind of thrown in there and slapped together. But the scientific experiment turned out that it didn't matter how we loaded the dishwasher. It was fine. They came out just as clean when he squashed his in as when I did it.
And now we both do it. We fill the dishwasher together. And sometimes you
That's
have
true.
to move things around, but it still ends up clean the same way. So the experiment worked, everybody.
And this is probably a good point. We all do put our own dishes in the dishwasher now, so we're kind of doing it. Everybody's doing it. But I'm still a little persnickety about where things get placed. And if things are put in there upside down or
Yep.
in the very wrong section, I just go and fix it. I don't make a fuss about it anymore. I just go fix it so that I can be sane.
I can attest to that. It's true. It's true. And kind of speaking to that side of your personality and how I just don't look at the dishwasher now at night. I just put the dishwasher tab in and run it because I know it's going to get clean regardless of how everything is shifted in there and made to fit. And when I go to empty it in the morning, I'm like, oh, well, she did it this way. Okay. Whatever. It got clean. So that's the important part. And, man, Laura likes to sleep in the morning. This is how I figured out she's introverted and needs time to herself. She likes to sleep in the morning.
Yep.
And so I figured out that to feed her I have to let her wake up on her own. So I'll get up in the morning, I'll take care of whatever the girls need until it's absolutely time for me to go to work and she has to get up. And then she'll like slowly work her way towards finally having to deal with an E and an I girl because they have our personality traits.
We've got one
as well.
extrovert and one introvert.
Yeah. And the youngest one is more like me and the older one is more like Laura. So the experiment of us just figuring that out is I know I have the boundary where I have to let her wake up in the morning and just do her thing. I'm ready to go usually because I like to be around people. And she needs a little bit extra time to adjust to that area of life.
And you've learned to just let me have my space to be my introverted self, and that's not the end of the world, that you can handle life in our home until I'm able to function. Yeah, this is making me look great. Okay. So how about we move on to love languages? We learned that one fairly soon after we got married too. I don't know if we bought the book or...
I think you had a copy of the book already, and we started reading it together. If I remember correctly, it's been a while. I think we passed it between each other and read it out loud to each other so that we could kind of get an experience of thinking about it and kind of playing it out in our minds and then talking about it together.
Yeah, I think we did that with several different books when we were first married. We would just read them together and stop and talk through things. And then when we get tired, we'd go to bed. But we read a lot of books like that I think a lot of them were helpful, but love languages in particular was really, really helpful. And we figured out that those 5 types of love languages, which were acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, and physical touch. And we figured out pretty quickly that mine were quality time and physical touch, and yours were...
acts of service and words of affirmation.
Yeah. And I don't know that either of us were very good at speaking the other person's love language right away,
No.
But we figured it out. We're still kind of trying to figure it out. But I think the biggest thing I learned was that because I don't give praise, I don't give respect super easily, it did not come naturally for me to speak words of affirmation to you. And I really had to work on speaking those things out loud and not just thinking them quietly in my head and going on about my day. Like I have to work at stopping, verbally recognizing that you've done something well or that I appreciate something about you in order to really speak to that love language.
Yeah, it's a constant learning process, and we're both getting better. I learned pretty quickly, like you said, that yours were quality time and physical touch. And so I try to feed on those as much as possible. So lately we've been spending more time just talking before we go to bed. I'm one of those that I like to jump right into things and get to them, and I just want to pray and get to sleep. But I've learned and have continued to learn that Laura needs to talk. She needs to process everything. And so we have conversations now before we go to bed at night that are just kind of decompression for the day and just things that have been going through her head. And that's the way we spend quality time together, while also I get to put my hand on her shoulder or something like that and make her feel loved in another way that's touching her, that's making her feel connected to me, and I'm feeling connected to her. Even though physical touch is not my primary, it's still there. We all have all 5 of them.
Yes.
They're just not as strong as others. And
yeah, we all need all 5, but some of them are absolutely critical for each individual person. I think the other thing that I've pulled out of this is that we can learn to receive love in the other person's love language. I think when we first got married, I would have been like, I cannot see acts of service as love. That would not have crossed my brain. And well, okay, since we've already had one dishwasher story, let's just continue with the theme. Erik unloads the dishwasher every morning, like he talked about, the vast majority of the time. And that is a job that I grew up doing, and I hate doing it. I will fold a million loads of laundry before I will volunteer to unload the dishwasher. And that's just me. So I am learning to see Erik's regularly unloading the dishwasher, that act of service on your part, as your way of loving me well, so that you're making sure that I don't have to do that one small thing that I absolutely hate doing. And I definitely would not have viewed it that way, that particular action, as your way of loving me without understanding the 5 love languages.
right. And I try to never leave the house without giving you a hug or some sort of embrace. And I try to pass that on to the girls as well when I leave. I try to give them both hugs to know that to show them that they're loved, and that maybe one of them has that as their love language and maybe the other one doesn't. But it's just a good way to show that I care about them and that I love them and that I'm thinking about them throughout the day. And I know one way that I show you love is when I get home from work and you've had an overwhelming day and you just need a hug, you just come over and give me a hug. And sometimes I almost fall over. I have to readjust my stance to catch her because she hugs me so hard. But it's worth it because I know she's loved that way, because she's getting her love tank, her
Yes.
love tank filled that way. So
Yep. So learning the love languages has really been helpful. And speaking of the girls' love languages, I don't even know. Have we even thought about that?
no, we haven't.
Oh, okay. Next thing we need to learn, figure out the girls' love languages. Check. Challenge accepted. Okay. So let's move on to the third personality typing tool that...
This one's my favorite.
Yes. I think at this point, mine too. But that is the working genius. And it's the one that we've discovered the most recently. It's the one that we're the most excited about because it really helped. We learned it almost 2 years ago. Yeah?
I think it's been within the last year. It hasn't been that long.
Okay, it hasn't been 2 years. I think it's been more like 18 months.
Yeah, 18.
Like a year and a half.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
But I mean, it's new, and it came to us at a time when I was absolutely frazzled and just not being a happy person. And so learning about how I work and the types of work that light me up and give me energy has been life-changing for all of us.
And I think it's been a good way of figuring out how I work too, with you'll go through it here, my tenacity. And I hate leaving jobs undone. I hate it. It's one of my pet peeves. And so figuring out this tool has really helped me and Laura both understand that we can't leave stuff unfinished. If we do, I'll try to finish it myself.
And what he really means is Laura's learned that she can't leave things unfinished or it drives him nuts. Okay, so let's back up a step. If you're not familiar with the working genius, I've got a whole episode on it. Check out episode 19. But big overview is you've got 6 stages of work, 6 different types of work that go into any project. And it all starts with wonder. So looking around and saying, I wonder if we could do this differently. I wonder why something happens the way that it does. It starts with wonder. And then we move into invention, where we're coming up with all sorts of ways to solve the problem that we've just wondered about. And then it moves into discernment, where we're taking our ideas and seeing if they're any good. We're tossing things back and forth to come to a decision and say, yes, this is how we need to fix the problem. And then we move into galvanizing. And galvanizing is where someone rallies the troops and says, all right, everybody, let's go, let's do this. And they get everybody excited about it. We have none of that in our family. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But the after we've gotten the troops rallied, we move into enablement, where somebody steps in and says, all right, tell me what to do. I will do whatever you tell me. And they make it, put boots on the ground and start making it happen. And then there's tenacity, where somebody pushes it through to the end. They overcome problems, they overcome hurdles, and they just get the thing done. And when we did the assessment together, we found out that I had invention and discernment, so at the very beginning of the work process. And then Erik had enablement and tenacity, the very end of that process. And there was no galvanizing. Both of us have galvanizing as a frustration. So neither one of us can galvanize for anything. So I can come up with all the ideas in the world, and then Erik can finish them, but we're lacking that piece in the middle to get the job going.
We're hopeful that one of our girls will have that, so that they can rally the troops together and we don't have to worry about it.
It would be so nice. We need to import one. My mom used to joke that our family needed to import a phlegmatic because we didn't have any. And so we imported you. And now I think we need to import a galvanizer. If the girls turn out to not be galvanizers, we need to pray that they marry one.
I think the youngest one has a shot, because whenever we go somewhere, she wants to go right at that time. She's like, let's go, come on, let's go.
This is true. There's a possibility. We'll have to keep an eye on it and just watch. There is a kids working genius assessment, but I think they recommend you start it at age 8. So our older kid could take it, but we might have to wait a while for the younger one. But I think one of my biggest takeaways with working genius, and one of the things that we've probably has made things so much easier for us as a couple, is just having a common language for when we're struggling. We learned through taking this assessment that doing enablement and doing tenacity work just wears me out. I am so tired and so done by the time I get through that part of the work phase that I just can't do anything else. So I have been known to look at you when you walk in from work and say, I've been in ET mode all day. I'm done. And that's your cue that you just need to take over and make things happen and give me a break from all the ET work. And no, it's not ET like the movie. It's enablement and tenacity. But when we're talking about working genius, we tend to talk about the types by their first letter. So WIDGET, widget, is the acronym there. But yeah, just having a common language for talking about how we're feeling and how we're working has made a huge difference for us. And then I think the second thing I've really taken away from working genius is just that we have freedom to do the work that we're each good at, and then really appreciate the fact that the other person can fill in our gaps, because we don't have a complete set of skills here. So for me to be able to say, okay, this is our idea, I'm going to attempt to galvanize us, go. And it always comes off really cheesy and not sincere at all, but I'm trying. And then Erik knows he can take over and dive in and do the enablement and the tenacity and just make it happen. I think you actually end up taking over the vast majority of the enablement tenacity work whenever you're home. So, but obviously, I still have to do some of it, and we all have to do work that's not in our geniuses. But having a partner with the different geniuses, and geniuses in particular that are frustrations for me, really helps to just lighten that load. And just the other day, you walked in from work, looked in the laundry room and said, "What's in the dryer?" And I had to stop and think for a minute because I had been on to 14 other things since I thought about laundry. And finally it was like, oh, there's towels in there. And you just went to work. You pulled the lights out of the dryer, you switched the towels over to dry. And before working Genius, it would have been a bone of contention where you would have come in saying, why haven't you switched them over yet? Why haven't you folded the lights? Or at least, silently judging me for not doing those things. But now you just jump in and do the things that need to be done. And especially when I've, spaced out or gone off on a totally different tangent, it's been amazing that you could just have the freedom to step in and take over those things. And I think understanding the working Genius has not only given us permission to step up and do that work that's in our geniuses, but it's giving us a lens to see it, to see, at least for me, to see how you're contributing to our household and taking that stress off my shoulders. And it gives me a language for thanking you for the work that you do and really appreciating it, which is, I think, for you especially, is just huge.
Yeah. And on school days when Lauren, the older child, go to school, she has a list for me. She came up with she did her I&D, she invented a list, and I take over that list and I get things on the list done before she comes home. Because I know that then she can do the rest of her work on the day and not have those tasks be undone because I ET'd, phoned home, and then got them done, and it's off her plate. So she doesn't have to do as much ET work the rest of the day, and she can be more in her working Genius, where I'm in mine pretty much all day long. Mine are getting fed all day. So I don't ever have to worry about that. It's when I have to make the decisions about different things is where I struggle. But that's what Laura's for. She's really good at that.
I have learned since doing the working Genius that if I need to brainstorm something, I will go to our older daughter, who also has invention, or I will go to ChatGPT and let ChatGPT brainstorm with me. Because if I come to Erik and say, okay, I need some ideas, he just looks at me with this pained expression and is like, please don't ask me to do that. That is not in my geniuses. And I go, oh, right. Okay, never mind. I'll figure something out.
It's true. It's very, very true.
So that's it. Those are the 3 personality tools that have made the biggest difference for us in our 15 years of marriage, and why we truly believe that our personality differences are not the big deal they're made out to be. And as long as you're aware of the differences and you're willing to adjust your approach to each other, personality differences can be a huge advantage in your marriage, not a stumbling block.
That's very true. We learned, they say opposites attract. It's true in our case, and it could be true in your case too. Never know.
It is true. And I think we talked probably in Wired That Way, when I was doing my certification for that, we talked about how you marry the strengths in your opposite and you go home to the weaknesses. So we don't see opposites as a problem when we're dating or even when we're first married, but then after we've been married for a while, those differences start really becoming contention points, and we have to figure out how to deal with that. So having these tools at your disposal is really what's going to make a huge difference in your relationships, and I hope that our just walking through that has been super helpful for you. So here's your homework. Choose one personality tool to do with your spouse and make it a date night. We don't get a lot of those around here, but we do recognize the value of sitting down together and talking through personality differences. And we do this on a regular basis. But you can check out the Wired That Way personality profile online. That one is, I think, $4.99 online right now. The 5 love languages quiz is totally free. You can take that online. And then the Working Genius assessment is $25 online. So none of them are like break the bank assessments. They're all very accessible and they're super helpful for all your relationships. So I really hope that you will dive in, take one of these assessments, and see how it can really boost your relationships, improve your communication, and really help you see that personality differences are not the end of the world, and they can really be an awesome benefit for your relationship. And like I said at the beginning, if struggling to understand people is something that is really on your heart right now, and you would love to join me on a clarity call, I am totally game. It's just a 1 hour, one-on-one video call with me, and we talk through whatever it is that you want to talk through about your Mosaic mom life. If you're really struggling to figure out your spouse in terms of all of these personality assessments that we have been talking about, I'd love to walk you through those and just help you kind of interpret what your results mean and how you can use that information to adjust and really improve your marriage. So if you are ready to start figuring out all of this personality stuff and get some clarity on who you were designed to be, how you were designed to function with your spouse in your home, just head over to scatteredwoman.com/clarity and we will get you on the schedule. I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks for taking time to hang out with me today. I hope you'll discover new pieces of your Mosaic mom life each week. If you've got a quick minute between those never-ending snack requests from your kiddos, I'd love for you to leave a quick review over on the Your Mosaic Mom Life page on Apple Podcasts. Those reviews help other moms find the show, discover their unique purpose, and start building a life they'll love too. Well, that's it for now. Be sure to check back next week for another new episode, and I'll be talking with you again soon.